So imagine this. You find out your stepdad just claimed your seven-figure book collection is his. Like million-dollar books, inheritance stuff. And your mom, she won't even confront him. That's not even the worst part. Wait, actually, yeah, it kind of is. But here's the thing. How did we get here? Because honestly, the backstory is way crazier than you think. Okay, so flashback to when Op was 11. One day, totally out of nowhere, Jen sits her down and asks, "Hey, is it cool if Brian moves in?" Like, what? She'd never even mentioned this guy before. No introductions, no hanging out first. Just bam, stranger moving into their home. Ruth asked to leave the room. Tom wasn't even there. Op was just stuck, alone, trying to process this. And Jen didn't care about their feelings, she just wanted a yes. Brian moved in the next week, and that's when things got really bad. Like really bad. Anytime Op or her siblings pushed back on anything, Jen and Brian would threaten to just leave, move to a new house, start over without the kids. Imagine hearing that as a kid. If you don't like it, we'll get a new house and ditch you. That's not parenting, that's emotional terrorism. Brian also had this rule. Op wasn't supposed to be anywhere in the house except her bedroom. Anywhere else, problem. She'd finish her homework before dinner and Brian would call her stupid. Actually said, only someone this stupid would think to eat first. Like, what does that even mean? Homework before dinner is a bad thing now. No, he just wanted to tear her down. And Jen? Nothing. Op would go to her mom, explain what Brian did, and Jen would just change the subject. Deflect. Pretend it didn't happen. So Brian learned pretty quick there were zero consequences. He could say whatever he wanted, be as cruel as he wanted, and Jen would just look the other way. Here's the part that really gets me though. Brian never hid the fact that he only wanted Jen. The kids, just baggage he had to tolerate until they were gone. And they made that crystal clear with the holidays. Op, Tom, and Ruth stopped being taken on family trips entirely. The last vacation they went on, Op was 10. A destination wedding where she was a bridesmaid for her godmother. After that, Jen and Brian went on 3 holidays a year without the kids. 3 a year. So Op's just sitting in that house, watching her mom and stepdad jet off to who knows where, while she's stuck in her room. Alone. She said it was the loneliest she'd ever felt. And honestly, I believe her. You've got this guy who moved in unannounced, calls you stupid, restricts you to one room, threatens to abandon you, and your mom just lets it happen. No defense, no standing up for you, just silence and trips to the beach without you. It's the kind of slow, grinding emotional abuse that doesn't leave bruises, so nobody outside sees it. But Op felt every bit of it, day after day, year after year. And the worst part, she couldn't even leave. She was a kid, trapped in a house where she wasn't wanted, with a mom who chose a guy over her own children. Brian got exactly what he wanted, Jen all to himself, and the baggage kept in their rooms out of sight. You know that feeling when you're in a room full of people but completely invisible? That was Op's entire childhood from age 11 onward. No family dinners where she felt included. No holidays, no support, just isolation. So when she finally turned 18, she bought her first apartment and got out. First chance she had. No looking back. But here's the thing, she couldn't take her siblings with her. Jen wouldn't allow it. And Op was working crazy shifts, sometimes overnight. A court wasn't gonna give an 18-year-old guardianship. So Tom and Ruth had to stay, but Op left one thing behind. Something really, really important. Her book collection. And that, well, that's where this story goes from sad to straight up insane. All right, so Op turns 18. And the second she legally can, she buys her own apartment, just like that. Gets out of that house. No more Brian. No more Jen, she's free. But here's the thing, she can't take Tom and Ruth with her. And she wanted to. Trust me, she wanted to. But Jen wouldn't allow it. And Op was working these crazy long shifts, sometimes overnight. A court's not gonna hand over 2 kids to an 18-year-old working nights, you know. Even if Jen was awful, she was still the legal parent. So Ruth and Tom had to stay behind. Op hated it, but her hands were tied. Now there was one thing Op left in Jen's care. And this is where it gets intense, her book collection, but not like a shelf of paperbacks. We're talking about a 7-figure collection. Yeah, 100,000. No, seven figures. Over $1 million worth of books. Some of them were inheritance. Family heirlooms, basically. She was always told to take care of them, store them correctly, never play with them. These weren't toys. And at the time, Op couldn't store them properly in her apartment. So Jen kept them. And honestly, despite everything Brian put her through, Op didn't have a reason to distrust Jen with the books. Jen had always respected her wishes when it came to the collection. Let her see them anytime, didn't mess with them. So for years, that was the one thing that seemed safe. But here's where Op was smart, really smart. She didn't just trust Jen blindly. She kept records, like professional level records. She had payment receipts for authentications, and these authentications weren't cheap. She had to send the books abroad to get them verified. She kept a spreadsheet, updated it regularly. Every book, its name, its value, everything. She also had messages from Jen, actual texts or emails where Jen discussed the collection, the number of books, their worth. So if anything ever went wrong, Op had proof, hard proof. And get this, when Op was just 16, she had the collection valued by an actual appraiser, not a casual guess, a real valuation. And because these are rare books, first editions, valuable comics, their value appreciates over time. So what was worth a lot at 16, worth even more now. We're talking serious money. So you've got this young woman, barely an adult, who managed to build this incredible collection through inheritance and her own work. And it's all sitting in Jen's house, in a secure room. A room with a heavyweight security door, a smart lock, and an alarm system. Brian never had access to it. Jen let Ruth and Op change the code themselves when they got older. So physically, the books were safe. But emotionally, Op was starting to wonder. I mean, Jen failed her in every other way. Let Brian call her stupid. Let him restrict her to her bedroom. Let him threaten to abandon her. Let him take away family holidays. Why would the books be any different? Still, Op had no reason to think Jen would steal from her. The woman had kept the collection safe for years, talked about it with Op, agreed to get more books authenticated. It seemed like maybe this was the one area where Jen wasn't completely useless as a parent. But here's the thing about trusting someone who's already let you down in every other way. Eventually, you start waiting for the other shoe to drop. And Op didn't have to wait long, because one phone call changed everything. And I mean, everything. Okay, so fast forward. Op's traveling home from seeing a friend. Just a normal day, right? She calls Tom, her brother, just to check in, casual stuff. And Tom mentions, hey, I'm at Jen's house picking up some things. No big deal. And Op's like, oh cool, since you're there, can you ask Jen if she got the rest of my books authenticated? They talked about it a few weeks earlier, just a routine question. Tom goes to find Brian, because Jen's not home, apparently. So he asks Brian about Op's books, and here's the weird part. Brian laughs, actually laughs, and says, what books? My books. Just my books. Tom's confused. No, Op's books, the ones you've been looking after. Brian repeats it, slower this time. My books. Now Op is listening to all of this through Tom's headphones, like she's hearing it live. Her stepdad, the guy who called her stupid for years, who confined her to her bedroom, who threatened to abandon her, he's claiming her inheritance. Her seven-figure collection, just like that. So Op tells Tom, ask him what he means, right now, Tom asks. And Brian says, and I quote, they are ours now, we bought them. Op's heart just sinks. She said that's the exact moment everything went cold, because she knew. She knew they never bought her a single book. Not one. She paid for everything. The authentications, the appraisals, the books themselves, some were inheritance, some she bought with her own money. Jen and Brian never gave her a penny for any of it. But here's Brian, bold as anything, lying straight to Tom's face, laughing about it. Op tries calling Jen. No answer, of course. She tries again. Nothing. Then Brian calls Op. And he doesn't just stick to the books. Oh no. He calls her a pathetic liar. Then he goes after Ruth too. Claims Ruth's books are also his property, even though Ruth sold some of hers years ago, sold them to Jen and Brian, actually, because she needed money to move out. But Brian's just rewriting history in real time. A couple hours later, Jen finally calls back. And Op's hoping, okay, maybe Jen will fix this. Maybe she'll stand up to him for once. But nope. Jen won't confront him. Won't tell him he's wrong. She just avoids it, like she always has. Same deflection, same silence, same choosing Brian over her own kids. Op asks Jen directly, "Did you buy my books?" And Jen admits no, she never bought them. She agrees the books belong to Op, but Brian refuses to give them back. And Jen just lets him. Let that sink in. Jen knows the truth. She admits the truth, but she won't do anything about it. Won't tell Brian he's lying. Won't demand he return the collection. Won't protect her own daughter's inheritance. So Op snaps. And honestly, who wouldn't? She tells Jen, "You neglected me. You let him take my happiness for years. You let him walk all over me. I will not let you steal from my children." Because that's what these books were, part of her future kids' inheritance. Then Op says something like, "If this is how it has to be, I will take you to the cleaners. I will report you both for theft. I will sue you for everything I can. I will cut you out of my life again. You mean nothing to me." And here's the thing, Op's not bluffing. She has a lawyer. She has proof, receipts, spreadsheets, messages from Jen discussing the collection, appraisals, everything. But even after saying all that, Op feels guilty. She asks if she was out of line. Because when you've been gaslit your whole life, you start questioning yourself. Like, am I the bad guy for finally fighting back? Spoiler, no, not even close. The betrayal here is so deep. It's not just about the money, although, come on, 7 figures. It's that Jen had one job. One, keep the books safe. And instead, she let Brian claim them. She let him steal from Op. And she stood there doing nothing. Again, you know that feeling when someone you trusted, even a little bit, completely breaks that trust. Multiply that by a lifetime of neglect. That's where Op was. Heart sinking, hands shaking, wondering how her own mother could let this happen. But here's the good news. Op wasn't going to just roll over. She had a plan. And oh man, that plan, it worked. So Op lays it all out, tells Jen straight up, "I'm taking you to the cleaners. I'm suing for everything. I'm reporting you both for theft." And she meant it. No bluffing. She'd already cut them out once, she'd do it again. Jen meant nothing to her at that point. Now the Reddit comments roll in, and honestly, they're so satisfying. People are like, "Wait, do you have proof?" And Op's like, "Yeah, obviously." She's got payment receipts for authentications, had to send the books abroad to get verified. She's got a whole spreadsheet tracking every book, its value, everything. She's got messages from Jen discussing the collection. The number of books, their names, their worth. Jen literally put it in writing. One commenter asks, "Is it documented that the books were left directly to you?" Op says, "I have a copy. I have everything." Another person suggests taking the documents to the police and asking for an escort to get the books back. Don't even warn them, just show up. Smart, right? But Op clarifies, actually, you have to give notice to collect property from someone's home. Otherwise, it's breach of peace. Police can get a warrant if it's theft, but then the books become evidence. So it's a civil case versus criminal. Tricky. But here's the thing, Op's lawyer already has it handled. She's not asking for legal advice. She's just asking if she was wrong for what she said to Jen. And the community, unanimous, not the a-hole. One user says, "Make that police report and ask your lawyer to do something to stop him getting rid of them. He sounds vindictive. Do it now, not tomorrow. Take them to the cleaners and then some." Another commenter is just impressed. How did a teenager acquire a 7-figure book portfolio? Op explains, inheritance, plus she added to it over the years. Got her first job at 16, had them valued by an appraiser, and the values appreciate over time. Rare books, first editions, valuable comics. And she's from the UK, so we're talking pounds, not some inflated currency. Someone else says, "I hope you get what you're owed and they get what they deserve." And honestly, same, the community's totally on her side. They see what we all see. Jen failed as a parent, Brian's a thief, and Op has every right to burn it all down. But here's the twist. Op's goal wasn't revenge. It was getting her books back, and she didn't have to go to court to do it. Yeah, you heard that right. No lawsuit, no dramatic courtroom scene, just something way smarter. And the way it went down, you're not gonna believe it. So here's how it all went down. Op contacts a lawyer, gets the ball rolling. The lawyer reaches out to Jen and Brian, officially, like legal letterhead, "We're coming for you energy." And Jen, suddenly she's panicking. She starts calling Ruth, trying to get her to convince Op to back down. Ruth's like, "Nope, I hope she follows through." Then hangs up. Jen tries calling back. Ruth ignores her. Cold, I love it. Then Jen tries Tom. Same thing. Talk to Op, get her to stop. Tom says he agrees with what Op's doing. And get this, while Tom's on the phone, he can hear Brian in the background, shouting obscenities about Op, calling her an ungrateful bitch. Real charming guy. But here's the thing, Jen agrees the books belong to Op. She admits it. Brian, still not having it, still claiming they're his, still refusing to give them back. Jen's not putting him in his place. Shocker, right? Then Jen tries this wild proposal. She tells Brian he needs to offer Op the current value of the books plus 30%. If Op says no, that's it. How generous of her, offering to buy back Op's own property. Brian says no anyway. He's convinced Op can't win, even though Jen confirms she has all the proof they'd lose in court. Delusional. Then, a couple days later, Jen reaches out to Op's lawyer on her own. Says she wants Op to come retrieve all the books. Finally. But there's a catch. Brian's an issue. His presence, I mean. So Jen assures them he'll be gone the whole day. Out of the city. Op arranges a van. Suitable transportation for a 7-figure book collection, you know. Nothing too sketchy. She drives to the family home. And when she gets there, Brian's car isn't in the garage. Not on the front patio. He's actually gone. So Op goes inside. Walks right past Jen. Doesn't say a word. Doesn't make eye contact. Just goes straight to where the books are. And here's the detail that makes this whole thing possible. Brian never had access to that room, ever. Jen never gave him the code. It's a heavyweight security door with a smart lock. Op and Ruth changed the code themselves when they got older. So Brian's never even been inside. He's been claiming ownership of books he's never seen. In a room he can't enter. Wild, right? Op starts loading, box after box. First editions, rare comics, her whole inheritance. It takes a while, but the van fills up. And Jen, she's just talking, trying to get Op to sit with her. Let's speak like adults. Regrets how she treated Op. Blah, blah, blah. All the things she should have said years ago. But now, Op's not listening. She said the words felt empty, because if Jen had said any of this back when Op was a kid, maybe things would be different. But Jen didn't. She chose Brian over and over. And even now, Op had to sneak in like a thief to retrieve her own possessions, because Jen still couldn't stand up for her. So Op doesn't say a single word the whole time. Not one. Her lawyer said everything that needed to be said. As long as Jen and Brian don't try to claim the books again, the matter's resolved. Once the van's full, Op hands over her keys to the family home. Jen tries to convince her to keep them, but Op's done. That place stopped being home the day Brian moved in. No happy memories. Her old room just reminds her of being trapped. And here's the reflective part. Op looks at Jen. Jen looks sad, really sad. But Op, she felt mostly nothing, just empty. Not angry, not relieved, not even victorious. Just empty. She said seeing Jen's face made her realize she'd already grieved that relationship years ago. There was nothing left. Jen made her choice. She chose Brian. She chose the man who called her daughter stupid, who threatened to abandon the kids, who tried to steal their inheritance. And she's still choosing him. Op got her books back, all of them, unscathed, physically in her possession. That's the win. But she also said writing about her old room, the only place she was allowed to be, still hurts. She needed a parent to look out for her. Jen failed, in every way except keeping those books safe. And even that almost got ruined. So yeah, Op has her collection, she has closure, but she also has a therapist she still sees. And she booked extra sessions after this. Some happy endings aren't fireworks, sometimes they're just quiet, a van full of books. A house you never have to go back to, and a mom who looks sad while you feel nothing. That's the resolution. That's how Op got her $1 million books back, without a lawsuit, without a courtroom. Just a lawyer, a van, and a stepdad who couldn't get through a security door. Okay, let's lighten the mood a bit. because we need a palate cleanser after that emotional roller coaster. This one's from the malicious compliance subreddit, and it's chef's kiss. So there's this office assistant, right? Works for a small company, gets paid minimum wage, but her boss promises her all this career growth, freelance work, better pay, the whole dream. Spoiler, it was a lie. Anyway, one day their biggest client places a huge order. Due Monday by noon, boss takes the task herself. Monday morning rolls around. No boss. Client calls, getting anxious. Assistant calls her, texts her, nothing. So she calls the boss's home landline. Husband picks up, says she's not there. Assistant explains the situation briefly. Boss finally calls back, furious, screaming that the assistant created a state of stress and emergency at her house. Home number is for emergencies only. This wasn't an emergency. It's not professional to call people when they're not at work. Then she comes into the office and lays down the law, looks the assistant dead in the eye and says, "If I take over a task, it's not your task anymore. It's my task. You don't need to bother me with reminders. You just give me the instructions and I'll handle everything. From that point on, your job is done. I never miss deadlines. If the client calls, you tell them I'm on it and you don't call or text me about it." Assistant repeats the instructions back. Boss is thrilled, then gives her favorite lecture about how she pays minimum wage for people to use their brain, unlike normal workers, apparently. Fast forward a month. Another client places an order. Boss is available, so assistant forwards everything to her, then considers her job done, exactly as instructed. Day of the deadline. Assistant's on vacation, hiking somewhere with terrible cell service. A colleague calls, client wants to know if the work's ready. Assistant says, boss is on it. She told me specifically not to remind her, just tell the client she's handling it. Then she turns off her phone to save battery. Because, vacation. Turns out the boss forgot the deadline completely. By the time she realized, the office was closed. She finished the work urgently, but then she didn't have the client's contact details. Had to drive to the office herself, get the files, find the contact info, and deliver late. Super embarrassing because the colleague had already told the client the boss was personally handling it. Assistant comes back from vacation. Pandemonium, boss is screaming, "Why did you do this? You told me to. Why didn't you do that? You told me not to." Boss is fuming but knows she's cornered. Then boss tries a new angle. "You didn't provide me with the client's contact details." Assistant says, "Actually, you told me you know all the clients personally. And if you'd used your brain, like you're always telling us to, you'd have noticed the order instructions were on the client's letterhead, with their contact details on every single page, top and bottom." Ouch. Assistant says remembering the look on her boss's face still makes her smile. And guess what? She got fired. Worth it. Sometimes you just have to let someone's own rules destroy them. That's malicious compliance at its finest. Hey, thanks so much for watching all the way through. If you made it this far, you probably want more stories like these, right? So here's the deal. Hit that subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. And maybe drop a like if you enjoyed this one. There's plenty more where this came from. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.